There is something most people will never admit to themselves. Something they carry quietly, hidden beneath their confidence, beneath their opinions, beneath every word they say a little too loudly in a room full of people. Most people are not living their lives, they are performing them. And the audience they are performing for is everyone except themselves. Think about that for a moment. The way people dress to be noticed, the way they speak to be validated, the way they announce their plans before they have even begun working on them, the way they explain themselves when no explanation was asked for, the way they need someone, anyone, to see them, acknowledge them, and confirm that they matter. This is not confidence. This is hunger. And hunger, when it is worn on the outside, does not attract respect. It repels it. You have seen this before. You have been around the person who talks about everything they are going to do, but the months pass and nothing changes. You have been around the person who needs to be the loudest voice in the room, not because they have the most to say, but because silence makes them uncomfortable. You have been around the person who posts every achievement before they have even consolidated it, who needs the world to witness their growth as it is happening, because growth without an audience feels empty to them. And here is the uncomfortable truth about all of this. Here is what nobody says out loud. The more desperately a person chases respect, the less of it they receive. Because respect does not respond to desperation, it responds to evidence. Respect is not a feeling someone decides to give you. It is a conclusion they arrive at. It is the quiet recognition that forms in someone's mind when they observe you over time and realize without being told that you are someone who cannot be dismissed. It is built in the background, slowly, through a pattern of behaviors that speak louder than any announcement. And the critical part, the part that most people miss entirely, is that you are never present for the moment it is granted. You do not earn respect in the conversation. You earn it in the silence before and after the conversation, in what you chose to do when no one was watching, in the discipline you maintained when there was no applause, in the standards you kept when it would have been far easier to let them slip. This is what it means to become unignorable. Not loud, not flashy, not dominant in the superficial sense that people often mistake for power. Unignorable means that your presence carries weight before you speak. It means people feel the density of your consistency before you open your mouth. It means that when you do speak, there is something behind your words. A track record, a pattern, a body of work that makes people lean in rather than tune out. You do not become unignorable by demanding attention. You become unignorable by doing the things quietly and consistently that make attention unavoidable. And this begins with the most unglamorous thing in the world. It begins with discipline. Real discipline. Not the kind you post about. Not the kind you tell people you have. The kind that exists only between you and the mirror at 5 in the morning when every part of you wants to stay in bed. The kind that exists between you and your work when the work is hard and boring and you can feel yourself wanting to drift. The kind that exists between you and your word, the promises you made to yourself that no one else knows about, the commitments you uphold not because someone is watching, but because you have decided that your word to yourself is sacred. That is real discipline. And it is the foundation of everything that actually commands respect. Most people will never develop this kind of discipline because it requires something deeply uncomfortable. It requires you to stop performing. It requires you to stop needing external validation as a source of fuel. It requires you to sit in the silence of your own progress and trust, without confirmation from anyone that what you are building has value. This is harder than it sounds. We are wired for feedback. We are wired for acknowledgement. And in a world that has built entire technologies around the instant gratification of being seen and affirmed, choosing to work in silence feels almost counterintuitive. It feels like you are falling behind, like no one knows about your growth. It is somehow worth less. But this is exactly the illusion that separates those who earn real respect from those who only chase the appearance of it. Consider the person who quietly learns a skill for 2 years while saying nothing about it, who wakes up early and stays up late, refining, failing, adjusting, improving, who tolerates the discomfort of being a beginner without broadcasting their beginner status as a form of identity, who does not announce the journey because they understand that the journey is not the achievement, the result is. And then one day, without fanfare, without a dramatic announcement, they simply are that thing. They are capable, they are skilled, they are someone who has been tested in private and emerged on the other side. And when the world encounters them, it knows. Not because they told it, but because the competence is undeniable, because the results are visible, because there is no gap between who they claim to be and who they actually are. That gap, the gap between self-presentation and reality, is precisely where respect goes to die. And closing that gap, permanently and quietly, is precisely how respect is born. Let us talk about that gap for a moment. Because it is important. Most of the energy people spend chasing respect is actually spent managing that gap. Managing the distance between how they want to be perceived and how they actually are. This management is exhausting. It requires constant effort, constant positioning, constant narrative control. You have to keep saying the right things to maintain the image. You have to keep being seen with the right people, in the right places, doing the right things, so the image holds. And the deeper problem is that this management takes up exactly the energy that could be spent closing the gap permanently. Every hour spent on performance is an hour stolen from development. Every unit of energy directed toward impression management is a unit of energy that does not go toward actual improvement. And so the gap never closes. The performance continues. And the respect, the real, deep, quiet respect that comes from undeniable substance never arrives. The disciplined person does the opposite. They invest no energy in image management. They have no image to manage because their image and their reality are the same thing. What you see is what is there. And what is there is the product of years of unglamorous, consistent, private effort. This is the shift that changes everything. When you stop managing how you appear and start investing fully in who you are becoming, you remove the performance from your life entirely. And without the performance, there is nothing left but the work. And the work, if it is real and consistent and serious, builds something that no amount of positioning ever could. It builds credibility, not the kind that is given to you by someone else's approval. The kind that is woven into the fabric of what you have actually done and who you have actually become. Now let us address something that comes up quietly in the minds of people who are on this path. The path of discipline, silence, and private growth. There is a point, somewhere in the middle of the work, where you begin to wonder whether any of it is real. Whether it is working. Whether the sacrifices you are making, the social comfort you are giving up, the validation you are choosing not to chase, whether all of it is pointed towards something worth arriving at. This doubt is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign that you are deep enough in the process to feel its weight. And the answer to this doubt is not reassurance. It is not someone telling you that you are on the right path. The answer is to continue. Not because you have proof, but because consistency itself is the proof. Because every day you choose discipline over comfort, you are not just getting closer to your goal. You are becoming the kind of person who chooses discipline over comfort. And that becoming, that quiet identity transformation happening in the interior of your life is the most valuable thing you can build. Far more valuable than any outcome it eventually produces. This is what people misunderstand about delayed gratification. They think it is about waiting for a reward. They think it is a trade I suffer now so I can enjoy later. But that is not what it is. Delayed gratification is not a strategy, it is a philosophy. It is the recognition that the person you become through the waiting, through the discipline, through the sustained effort in the absence of reward, is a fundamentally different kind of person than the one who abandons the work the moment it stops feeling good. And that difference, the difference in who you are becoming at the deepest level, is what eventually makes you unignorable. Not what you have, not what you have achieved, who you have become. The character that has been forged in the quiet difficulty of choosing growth over comfort, over and over again, without an audience. There is a quality that people with real gravitas share. It is hard to name, but easy to feel. When you are around someone who has built themselves through years of private discipline, there is a weight to their presence, a stillness. Not the stillness of someone who has nothing to say, but the stillness of someone who has no need to prove anything. Their security does not come from your opinion of them. It comes from their relationship with themselves, from the private record of every time they kept their word to themselves, every time they chose the harder right thing over the easier wrong one, every time they showed up for the work when the only witness was their own conscience. That security is visible without being displayed. That confidence is felt without being announced. And it commands a form of respect that is impossible to manufacture and impossible to take away. So stop asking whether people respect you. That is the wrong question. Ask instead whether you have given them something real to respect. Ask whether the person you are in private matches the person you want to be seen as in public. Ask whether the gap is closing or widening. Ask whether today, this ordinary, unwitnessed day, you chose the behavior of the person you are becoming, or the comfort of the person you are trying to leave behind. You do not become unignorable by chasing attention. You become unignorable by becoming undeniable. And the work for that, all of it, happens in the silence, in the discipline, in the private, unglamorous, consistent commitment to becoming someone whose results are real and whose character is genuine. That is the work. It is not dramatic. It is not loud. It is not exciting to announce. But it is the only work that builds something that lasts. The only work that builds something that cannot be taken from you, because it is not dependent on anyone else's opinion. It is dependent only on you. Now you know. The question is what you choose to do with it. If this reached something real in you, something you needed to hear, leave one word in the comments. Just this. Earned, not given.